Now, COVID has come up, everything has went online. So how we can build a brand, in this online era now? No, so we have social media at one place, and then we have a lot of other portals also and other stuff, online PR, a lot of things happening. So how we can build a brand, in this tough times?
I mean, I would like to say that social media is one such, technology or tool that is available to marketeers that has equalized the entire landscape of how marketeers, were there, or how corporates were. So whether it's a product with a marketing budget of, some 10,000 rupees, or a big corporate with crores of rupees, social media has tried to make sure that they equalize all the entire landscape in which all marketeers currently operate. So in a way, tightly controlled budget of 1,000 or to 10,000 rupees can also do a great marketing outreach to its target audience, which are, a company with a multi-million dollar revenue, or maybe a budget can also reach out to their target audience. So it's in a way a very, very powerful tool that is available to the marketers, irrespective of what your marketing budget is like. And you can be very, very effective in your marketing campaigns. So I think social media can really help you drive and maximize the value that you can get from your marketing budgets. You can have you can reach out to the right target audience. You can do a lot of good marketing through influencers, which definitely comes at a little premium. But, if you are a premium brand and if you want to really gain a good marketing appeal, then, influencer marketing can be a great one. Consistent messaging is another one that you can drive. If you form a community of people who are attracted towards your brand or the kind of product that you have, you can build a very consistent marketing campaign by building a community and then attracting that community. I mean, I'll give you an example. A lot of these companies who are into, kids brands, they have these communities which are for mothers, right? And they create those communities on the social media. They have these working moms, and it's actually a community that is by one of your, your kids brand, like Lego or anyone. And then they tap into that community of mothers to drive a lot of sales and value and do a lot of marketing push. Similarly, companies who are into, say, automobile, they would have a community of all the people who love to go for races and car racing and all of that. And that becomes a very good proposition to be on social media and attract that kind of audience, keep them engaged, do consistent branding and messaging, and you continue to tap into that community to do further sales. Another aspect that I really like about social media, which is very, I don't see too many people really using that, but crowdsourcing can be a significant one on social media. You can drive a lot of, engagement with your target audience through crowdsourcing. I've seen corporates drive a lot of campaigns, like Maggie did so much of crowdsourcing push by asking people to tell their 2-minute Maggie story, for example. Yes. Or, so these are very good way of engaging your crowd, using crowdsourcing, using a lot of these community building, engagement, and influencer by tapping into your pool of influencers that you want to go out and do an outreach. So those are a few.
Right. So this has a two follow-up questions. One is, which one is your social media favorite platform where you feel, this is a good ROI-driven aspect it brings?
I think one has to, when it comes to social media, I think you need to have very solid campaign, which can be, linked to a social cause or a social or a compelling need in the community, which your customers may be thinking of. I mean, I really love these whole social marketing campaigns that are driven by Tata, for example, Tata Tea. which is about, thought-provoking. Those kind of campaigns you can run very effectively on social media also. Start to build a community. So I think social media is a lot about how do you build that community of like-minded people who have the similar sort of tastes, and you can drive a lot of your push and your brand appeal to them. So I would say, so for example, luxury brands, people who are into luxury commodities, who keep buying them, they would love to engage with, we can form a community and then keep pushing our messages to them. Like you would see a lot of luxury car brands actually tap into it. They keep having these races, some vintage car rallies and stuff like that. They have built a community and they keep tapping into that community to do further sales because their right target audience is right there. So I think I'm a big fan of that because it's very targeted. It can be very engaging. And it's very low cost, low maintenance. So I think that's a great way of doing social media.
Right, perfect. Last year, if I'm not wrong, influencer marketing, did get some bad mouth around, because of over promotion maybe, or not doing the right stuff which influencers should be doing. So what is your take? How we should decide that this should be a good influencer for us or not?
No, that's a very valid point, and that's the reason why recently there were those influencer guidelines and things that have already been rolled out, and there is a lot of focus on now being making sure that you're promoting ethical influencer marketing also. I think somewhere as brand custodians, and then again coming back to your point about reputation, your reputation is built by making sure that you are, whatever you are doing, whether it is as a marketer or as an influencer, you are, if you don't have the right reputation in the market, nobody is going to hear you. So I think some of these bad influencers or influencers who are just doing unethical stuff, they will kill their own brand, or they will kill their own reputation if they continue to drive the way they are driving things. So I think nowadays people are, people are very, very well aware. They are, everybody is reading, everybody is hearing the same stuff. And I think somewhere some of these things will not go unnoticed. So whether it is brands, they need to be very responsible in the way they drive marketing within their within corporates. I mean, I had once tweeted, and it became like really, really big on social media. This was around the fact that, there are certain channels which are, a lot about just fear mongering and, fake news and all of that. I think it's up to the marketers to stop funding those channels, right? Make sure that you choose who you relate to as a marketer or as a brand. You need to make those ethical choices and be out there to make sure that you're not really associating the brand with certain channels which are just doing, horrible negative promotions, or siding with one party than the other, or, or politically connected. I think that's something that I would always call out, that as a marketer, and to be an ethical marketer, it is our social obligation to make sure that we partner with the right kind of media partners. We partner with the right kind of influencers, and we take that responsibility to drive ethical marketing.
Right. So would you like to make a comment on a recent hiccup which mentioned about Gaurav Vasan and that Baba Ka Dhaba story?
No, I don't want to comment about all these controversies. It's not my domain, not my expertise, not at all. But in general, I would like to urge all the marketers, through your channel, and otherwise also in whatever small way I can do, that one has to be, I think that marketing and communication has a big role to play when it comes to ethics. So they need to be very ethical in the way they are trying to drive ROI or return on reputation and whatever, to ensure that they are actually doing their job honestly by engaging with the right partners, with ethical partners. That's all that I have to say. I will do my bit. There are people who don't want to, then it's up to them. Eventually, people will realize.
I understand. Yes, you're right. So moving back to employees, which of course is a part of our branding aspect. So what internal communication tools, or maybe no, you must be using out to improve the employee satisfaction or no communication among the employees, and how does it helps basically?
I think communication to employees is driven by a gamut of different, areas that you need to keep in mind. One, it cannot just be about top down. A lot of times as communicators, we make the mistake of thinking that, everything has to be leader led, and let the leaders be upfront and just talk about it, doing a certain number of town halls and driving some top down approach is not always the best approach. So I personally feel that it has to be a top down and a bottoms up approach as well. So you also need to have your ears on the ground. So it has to be a mix of certain sort of channels that help you to not just do the top down approach where the leader connect happens or leader communication is driven by, but also to see what are the people on the ground saying, and ensure that that verbatim is also something that is going out to the larger audience. So we do a lot of different activities, and different action plans are drawn to make sure that there is a mix of a lot of different stuff that we do when it comes to internal communication. So, typically everybody does a lot of town halls. We do a lot of email communication. For email and other some similar stuff, we have Populo, which we use as a tool very effectively because it helps to measure the reach of all your communication that is going out. Couple of, sometimes we've also seen when we look at rank and stack the different communication channels that we use, which are the ones which are most popular, whether it's a town hall, face-to-face or virtual meetings, or emails, or newsletters, or sometimes we also use video communication and stuff like that. I think one of the tools that is the most effective is email. I think email has just not gone away. It is always one of the most favorite of all employees to, continue to read a lot of emails. We've tried to push intranet also in a big way. In one of my previous organizations, we also launched Workplace, which is a very effective enterprise solution for internal communications by Facebook. And that was, again, a very big success, at least in the organization that I was there, because one, it was a medium that people are using in their personal capacity. So it was a medium that they're used to. And then there were other tools also that we keep using. So in a way, I think internal communication is a mixed bag where you have to use a lot of creativity to drive the messages with different channels, different ways of communicating. I used to have one video communication channel called, we named it after Heart Talk in one of our organizations, where we used to do interaction with top leadership team without really giving them an understanding of what are we going to ask them. So those questions were never shared with them, and they were brought on the camera, and we used to ask them tough questions that were there on the minds of all the people. And that worked very effectively because whatever responses we got were very honest responses from the leadership team. And that really caught on with a lot of our employees, because they knew that we were asking them very tough questions, which are the questions that they wanted to ask the leadership. So I think you have to be very creative and be honest about what exactly are you trying to achieve.
This is something phenomenal that you have mentioned about the Heart Talks, because if this kind of communication is happening between the company and employees and the management, I'm sure it is going to have a lot of trust coming from the employee aspect, and I'm sure their integrity will increase for sure. So this is